we're not constantly shoving rankings down our client's throat. We understand that new patients is the number one metric, but let's be frank, if you rank well, that leads to new patients. So you do need to give ranking factors consideration for sure.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Raving Patients podcast. As you know, I'm your host, Dr. Len Tao. As always, I want to thank my two sponsors, both the Doc Sites and Dental Intelligence, for their support, for allowing me to put on this podcast on a weekly basis for you. Today's episode is entitled Boost Your Dental Practice, Maximizing Patient Growth with Google Business Profiles and Local SEO. I'm super excited because I'm actually speaking to one of the experts in the space. He's not a dentist. He's not related to dentistry. He works for an agency in Canada. Their agency's taken the world by storm, we'll put it that way. I want to welcome Colan Nielsen to the Raving Patients podcast.
Hey, Len. Thank you so much. It's so good to see you again.
I want to read your bio up real quick, Colan. So Colan began his career in the local SEO world back in 2010. He became a Google product expert at the Google My Business Forum in 2014. This allowed him the opportunity to help thousands of business owners navigate the often confusing world of Google My Business. In 2017, he joined Sterling Sky team as VP of Local Search and has served as a faculty member at Local U and administrator at the Local Search Forum, both affiliate organizations of Sterling Sky, since coming on board. So Colan, let's jump right into content. One of the things that I look for every year, one is the Bright Local consumer review product that comes out, and then the local search ranking results that you kind of take part in. So can you just touch base on some of the big issues in local search ranking right now?
So the study, it's called the Local Search Ranking Factors, comes out every year. It's actually both for business owners, because what it does is it gives you an updated list of all the things that are impacting local search. And what's cool about this is it's a qualitative based survey. And what it does is it goes out and it surveys the top, I think it's about 30 or 40 top local SEO professionals who are actually like on the ground with their hands in, doing work, measuring things. And yeah, I think that's a really good starting point. Let's pluck out some of the top things that influence ranking, because rankings are let's say rankings are, so for us at Sterling Sky, for instance, we're not constantly shoving rankings down our client's throat. We understand that new patients, butts in the seat is the number one metric. But let's be frank. If you rank well, if you rank in the three back, that leads to new patients, right? So you do need to give ranking factors some sort of consideration for sure. So I'll point out a few here. I've actually got the survey up in front of me. And some of these are interesting and worth discussing, and some of them are pretty straightforward. So the number one, let's start there. The number one ranking factor, according to this study this year, and I believe this was the same ranking factor from last year that got the number one spot, is the proper selection of your primary category on your Google business profile. And I think this one's worth spending a little bit of time on here because, well, A, it influences ranking almost more than anything else. B, when it comes to dentists specifically and their Google business profiles, last time I checked, there was approximately 16 categories that you could choose, but you only have one option for that one primary category. And considering how impactful it is on ranking, you have to get that category right. So I'll give you a couple examples here. So for a typical dentist practice, 99% of the time, the dentist category is the one you are going to want to select. That's, if one of your main goals is you want to show up when potential patients are searching for dentist near me, best dentist in my area, dentist plus city, you pretty much have to have the dentist category. That would be your primary category. Now, where this can get tricky if you don't know what you're doing is, for example, there's also a dental clinic category. And at first glance, you would think that selecting the dental clinic category to represent your practice as a whole would be the best category. But in all the testing we've done, the dentist category always ranks better than dental clinic.
So what's interesting is I just had this yesterday. I was talking to an office, and they're in California, and they had themselves listed as a dental clinic. So what's interesting is I know in Canada, a common term for a dental practice is a dental clinic. In the US, dental clinic has negative connotations. It's, if you put the word dental clinic, it looks like an HMO clinic or a managed care clinic rather than like a high-end dental practice. So I'm always urging dental offices to change that primary category that you see from dental clinic or, to dentist or cosmetic dentist, whatever you want to, whatever. I didn't realize how important it is. Now I do. But that's definitely dental clinic is not, unless you're in Canada, I would not use dental clinic.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So there's an optics element to it as well. And then another thing that moved it up a little bit higher in the survey this year. So something that we've always known was impactful, but this year, and I agree with this, I rank this higher as well, is the impact of the secondary categories that you can add. So you get one primary, but then you can add an additional 9 categories, so you get 10 total. Now, the additional categories, they don't carry the same weight as far as ranking goes that the primary category carries, but they're still extremely impactful. And just to give you an example, if you've got dentist as your primary category, but then you also want to rank for emergency dental services, urgent dental care services, you absolutely need to have the emergency dentist category as one of your secondary categories to even have a hope of ranking for people searching for emergency services.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Again, this is great information. If you're listening to this, you may be wanting to write this stuff down and check how your Google My Business listing is kind of managed or maximized. So number one is primary category. Number two, obviously the secondary categories. You say you can put up to 9 of them, correct? 9 categories. So a total of 10 you can have.
Total of 10. So that's number one. Categories, get those right. And I'd like to talk in a little bit. I want to talk about the idea of creating practitioner listings because categories come into play significantly with practitioner listings. So we'll explore categories a little bit more there. Now, the factor that came in number 2 in this year's survey is controversial. It might have been the number 1 factor last year. So the top 3 factors tend to change a little bit, but the number 2 this year was keywords in your Google business profile name.
Really, name
In your name. So let's just, and I'll give you a perfect example. If you go into almost any market, especially competitive markets, so take New York City, and if you do a search for dental implants specialist, dental implants provider near me, NYC, on average, like 80% of the Google business profiles that are ranking for that will have dental implants or some variation of that in the name of their Google business profile. So that's something to keep in mind. Like if you have the word dentist, or we've even seen some, I would never recommend this, but we've seen this in the wild where a clinic had actually rebranded to have their signage say dentist near me, which I think is crazy, would never recommend. But if that's your name on your Google business profile, it 100% is going to influence rankings to a very high degree.
Wow. That I did not realize so on a separate note, just real quick, how does that affect, and I know, NAP is a kind of something that's gone away over the years. It's not as important as it was, but when you do that really will change the NAP out there. So obviously if that's the number 2 ranking, does it pay to add other keywords into you? Because in the past, I was always, if you had your business name and you added, dentist, general dentist, family dentist, cosmetic dentist, it was almost considered spam and the listing would actually be hurt. So now it sounds like those terms are really, really more important in the name of the business.
We've actually gone through quite a few, what I would call like rebranding exercises with businesses, because if you just go one day and you decide to just go add dental implants or teeth whitening service and all these keywords to the end of your Google business profile name, Google's not necessarily okay with that. They would consider that spam or adding descriptors. They call that out in their guidelines as something you shouldn't do. With that said, if you do it properly, meaning whatever it is that you're reflecting your name on your Google business profile, if in addition to that, you're also having the logo on your practice website match. If you refer to yourself on the contact us page, your footer, all that kind of stuff, Google will look at that and go, okay, this is their real world, quote unquote, representation of their name, and we're totally fine with that.
Wow, interesting. It's interesting, definitely interesting information there. So we talked about the top two. What's third on the list, and then we can go to a different topic.
Number three, and I believe this actually might have been number one last year. Not as much you can do to influence this one, but simply the proximity of the address to the searcher, right? So proximity. And what's interesting about proximity is, it makes sense. Google has access to where you're located through a billion different data points. They know where you are at all times. So from a local pack perspective, proximity comes into play big time, especially for queries that don't have the city attached to it. Right? So proximity becomes a big factor on those. And some of your audience might be familiar with this. If not, just go do a quick Google search for this. But at the end of 2021, I believe it was, end of November 2021, Google launched an update that we ended up naming the Vicinity update, because what we saw happen after this local algorithm update is businesses who, let's say on one of those GeoGrid ranking reports, we're ranking 5 miles away from their office. If somebody was 5 miles away, they were number one. All of a sudden, they were only ranking in the three pack if somebody was within like 3 miles of their business. So that's a really good article to check out because of how impactful proximity to the searcher is. Just search the Vicinity update, and you'll find an article we did. I think Search Engine Land covered it as well.
And as you said, there's not much you can do about proximity because it's where you're located and where the searcher's located. So that's not a changeable factor in any way, shape, or form. I'm curious, where do reviews rank now on that list?
So reviews first come into play. So the way they break the survey out is they've got your local pack factors, but then they also talk about localized organic factors. They get into SEO myths, which is pretty cool, as well as negative ranking factors, like things that you absolutely should not do because they will tank your rankings. But as far as the local pack rankings, which is what we've been talking about so far here, reviews come in at number 6. Is where they first show up, and that is high numerical Google ratings.
So rank ratings first.
Yeah. So according to this survey, ratings come in first. At number 8, quantity of native Google reviews with text come in, and then peppered throughout like the top 20, you'll find some other variations just related to like average rating, stuff like that. So reviews is a really interesting one. I'd love to talk more about that. We've done a lot of our own research on reviews, and we kind of have some additional things to think about. But that's kind of what the study was in terms of what all the local SEOs are at least observing.
We could do a whole podcast on just those ranking factors. So that's really, really powerful information to hear because it's changed so much over the years. And someone can do a search for literally the Google local search ranking study and see that information, correct? Got it. So let's jump into, I know I want to talk about reviews a little bit. I want to talk about practitioner listings because that's a big deal nowadays, especially if you're a multi-doctor practice. So what is the current feeling on how important having practitioner listings are for businesses, or what is your take on this topic?
So practitioner listings, and just for anyone who's not familiar with what practitioner listings are, it's this whole idea that for businesses that have practitioners, so this would apply to dentists, but it would also apply to any healthcare provider that has multiple doctors, real estate agents, hairdressers that have direct relationships that like they're technically practitioners. And what Google allows you to do is have a listing to represent the practice as a whole. And then you can have an additional practitioner Google business profile for every single dentist that works at that clinic. But our strategy behind practitioner listings and how we approach them has definitely evolved a little bit over time. The most important thing to understand about practitioner listings, like if you're thinking about whether or not you should be creating a practitioner listing for a dentist who's at the office, is whether or not that practitioner listing is going to compete or filter out or cause problems to the main practice listing. That's the number one problem that I see people getting into with practitioner listings. The way to prevent that from happening, so the way to create practitioner listings, I'll give you the three things that make the most difference. So when you set up a practitioner listing, number one, the name can't include the practice name. It should just be the dentist name. Uh, Ideally, the phone number should be different. Even if you have to just set up a tracking number that just forwards to the actual dental clinic number, that's fine. The reason for that is because if there's too many things matching on the practitioner listing, they match the main practice listing, it can get flagged as a duplicate, and then you basically lose the listing anyways. So just the practitioner name, unique phone number. You want to link to a page on the website that is different than the page you're linking to from the main practice. And this is where the category part comes in, and how you want to sort of strategically build these practitioner listings. So two categories that work really well for practitioner listings are pediatric dentist and emergency dental clinic. So if you set up a practitioner listing, and let's just say you do see kids at the dental clinic, you could set up the practitioner listing, link to the page on the website that talks about your pediatric dentistry services, and then you use the pediatric dentist category. So what happens then is that particular practitioner listing can go out and rank for all the people that are searching for kids dentist, children's, pediatric, those types of things. The main practice listing will continue to rank for dentist, dentist near me, those core keywords. The other one that works really well for practitioner listings is the emergency dental categories. So those are the main things to think about. If you do it properly and make sure the practitioner listings are targeting different things and not overlapping with the main practice listing, it's a wonderful strategy. But if you just start creating them and sort of the info is basically the same as the practice listing, you're gonna run into lots of problems.
So I just want to clarify some things that I have always been aware of, and it may have changed because I don't keep up like you do. So I've been told that if you are a single doctor practice and you have
Yep.
your practice name as one of the listings, and there's a dupe that's the practitioner listing. So mine would be a Pennsylvania Center for Dental Excellence when I owned it, and it would be a listing under Leonard F. Tao DMD. Those you can actually merge according to Google's rules.
Yeah, that's still the case. If you're solo practitioner, according to the guidelines, you should just have the one listing to represent you. So if there's two, Google theoretically should be able to merge those together.
Got you. And then you have to gain ownership of both of those. And then there's a merge option within the Google business profile, correct?
Yeah, actually, with that's now interestingly what Google will tell you to do if you contact them is they'll actually ask you to unverify the listing that you want merged into the other one. So when you contact them, they'll tell you to do that. What I would actually suggest though is they actually don't seem to care if you leave that practitioner listing out there, even if it's just a solo practice. So sometimes we'll look at it and we'll go, okay, does it make more sense to merge it? And we'll try and see what the benefits to that would be. Or should we just set this up with one of those other categories and point to a different page on the website and take advantage of it?
If you do it that way, do you just ignore reviews to the other listing? Then you focus on the business name at that point?
Reviews are definitely the biggest point of contention, I would say, when you're talking to businesses about setting up practitioner listings. Are we going to dilute our reviews? Like it's extra effort, et cetera. What we usually say is for the practitioner listing, strive for 10 reviews. Make that your goal, because there's a definite clear ranking bump when you hit 10 reviews almost every single time. We observe this. And then your main practice listing is the one that you continue to dedicate 95% of your review efforts to.
Got it. That's really good information. And then to the same note, if you are a multi-doctor practice and you don't want to have practitioner listings, they won't let you merge those. That's difficult to fix.
Yeah, that's difficult to fix if it's like a situation where Google auto generated them at some point, or maybe they worked at a different clinic and they had them and they want to carry them over, update the address to your clinic now. Those are tricky. Google will not merge those. So that's where you definitely would want to start thinking about, okay, how do we just make these profiles perform the best possible way.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So let's talk about reviews in self. And I know we have some review information to share. I know the first one we already gave is that once you get to 10 reviews, you have a ratings boost. So that's one of the things that we wanted to touch base on. But there was a couple other things that I think would be helpful to the listeners and viewers to understand.
Yeah, so that's definitely number one. So that, I mean, that's not just for practitioner listings, but any Google business profile. That 10 mark, it's a milestone. It's been like that for over 10 years. 10 just seems to be this magic number. What then seems to take over once you get past that 10 mark is velocity, right? Or consistency of ongoing reviews. And we've tested this, and the way we kind of know this is what we will often see, and you can track this with, Bird Eye does this. There's some other tools that do this well, where you can track uh, Google reviews over time, right? You can plot them on a graph and see how many you get each month and over time, and what's your aggregate number of reviews. And when we see businesses who have, say, for a couple of years, a consistent increase in reviews, then all of a sudden, for some reason, they stop getting reviews. We see their profiles tank. So consistency, velocity, like just having a really good system in place for continually asking for reviews is probably the number two thing after hitting that 10 reviews. The other thing that's really useful, and there's some really cool tools out there that can do this. Um, the one tool I like for this thing I'm about to mention is a Chrome extension from a company called Plepper, Plepper. I believe it's a Chrome extension. And what's really cool about this Chrome extension is you can do a Google Maps search for, let's just say, dentist New York City. Let's just say your dental clinic in New York City. So you type in dentist NYC, and what this Chrome extension does is it'll overlay this thing over Google Maps, and it'll tell you who in that market, in that view on Google Maps, has the most reviews, what the average number of reviews are across that whole market, what the lowest review is in the market. And we typically say, whatever that average is, that's your minimum kind of goal, right? That you're trying to hit. And I know you mentioned, we were discussing before, 100 as a milestone. I would agree with that. I think that's a good point to hit. And then layering on top of that, what is the actual average in this market? Because it varies so much.
You can be there's 5 dentists in your town, and you can have 2 and the other dentist has 1,000, and that's your baseline. You have to compete against that 1,000, and you can be in a very competitive town, and they can have ones that have 50 or 70 reviews, and that's your target there. So yes, very, very important. You need to see what your competition is getting to make those. One other thing you mentioned to me in our pre-conversation was how important photos were in the in the reviews as well. Can you touch base on that a little bit?
Photos are extremely important, and I'll tell you why we've discovered that they're really important. So I think the general sort of like gut feeling reason why they're important is because, well, a happy patient uploads a photo. It just speaks volumes, right? They're in the clinic. Maybe it's a photo next to the dentist, right? And then they go and they upload it with their review. I think that just probably goes a long way, and that's just my qualitative gut feeling. Where the data comes in, what we've actually discovered is that reviews that have photos uploaded with them, Google considers them to be more relevant. And the way we discovered this is when you go to a Google business profile, you click on the reviews. By default, Google orders the reviews by relevance, right? That's, then you can, if you want to see by like lowest rating, you can filter it by that, or highest rating. But the default is relevance. And we wanted to figure out, well, like what the heck plays into Google thinking this review is more relevant than that one. And I believe it was the number one thing that came out of the study was that photos with reviews would be higher up. Like Google would feature them higher up by default when somebody goes to look at your reviews. And where this can come in tactically is, let's just say you've got a pesky negative review that some patient has left, and it could have been like 2 years ago, but for some annoying reason, Google keeps featuring that negative review really high up in the relevancy ordering. We've then introduced a review with a photo, which actually, in most cases we've tested, has the effect of like replacing or pushing down that negative review in the relevancy pile. And in some cases, it actually will shake up the whole ordering. So photos, that's in our opinion the main reason to encourage patients to upload photos with the reviews.
One other question on reviews, and then we can move on. How much, and I get this question a lot, so I'm curious, how much does responding to reviews, positive, negative, both, or neither, affect it? Does it have any ranking factor at all? And if it does have a ranking factor, are there keywords in the review response? Does that matter still?
From a ranking perspective, as far as we're concerned, as far as any testing we've done, does not seem to impact ranking. So responding to reviews don't seem to be a ranking factor. Now, you could probably argue that there's an indirect ranking factor with review responses, because if people are looking through your reviews and they're reading the responses, which we do know a lot of people do. Bright Locals put out some interesting studies about review responses. Miriam Ellis, I believe she did. I believe it was over at Moz, did a fantastic review study as well around responses, and they're very important from an actual conversion perspective. And actually, a real world example, this happened to me recently, not related to going to the dentist, but I was in Nova Scotia last week on vacation, and we were looking for a restaurant. We were downtown Halifax, and we just did one of those, like, we're not going to book a reservation. We're just going to walk around and kind of Google restaurants. And, so finally, like, and I love doing this. Now my head is not calling the local SEO anymore. I'm calling the actual customer, so I get to view things differently. And I looked up this restaurant; it had really good reviews, and all of a sudden I started looking through, and like every review had this wonderful response to it, and that tipped my decision over to pick that restaurant over another one that had similar reviews, but like they just weren't really responding to the reviews. I'm like, if they're responding to the reviews on here, I bet you any money that's a reflection of how the customer service, the wait staff is going to be in that restaurant.
I agree 100% with that. I think that is. I think you have, and remember, when you are responding to a review, you're not responding to the person who really wrote the review. You're responding to people who are reading the reviews like you did to make them look differently on your business. So I think it's definitely a customer service issue, and I think that it does reflect on the business. And I definitely would use a business more that responds to the reviews. So 100% so. All right, that was really great review information. Thank you for that. So I want to talk about a little bit about website optimization and local SEO tools that you can use for your practice. So can you touch base on both of those?
Yeah. So I'll give you just a few things that are working really well from an on-site sort of website optimization perspective that's for dentists specifically has been working really well. So first one is this whole idea of optimizing for cost keywords. Tons of search volume. Specifically, the ones we've seen that work really well is optimizing for cost keywords around dental implants, particularly all on 4 and all on 6. For some reason or another, and the way we kind of go about figuring this out is we look in Google Search Console, we look at the actual queries that are driving traffic to a website, but then we'll go to keyword research tool like Ahrefs and start kind of searching around for this. So things like, how much do dental implants cost in state is actually a really important one. So dental implants cost searches often have the state connected to it. So if you're optimizing your dental implants page on your website and you want it to rank for people who are curious and sort of looking to see how much dental implants cost, you want to make sure that you're optimizing it both for the city you're in and also the state that you're in. So the important part with this is gathering, like, what are the actual questions or keywords we need to incorporate with that page, and you get that through keyword research. But then the actual implementation of this is rather simple. It's like including headings, including things in the title tag that match the keyword that you're trying to do. That part of it's very simple. It's just discovering what are the actual things that people are searching related to cost.
Got it. Okay. Makes a lot of sense. When it comes to tools for SEO, so I use a product, and I'm sure you're familiar with Local Falcon. I love that product. It really helps me show because remember, you can only do so much when someone's doing a Google search on their computer, because it will show them results they want to see. So they're always going to rank higher. So this gives me a really true reflection of someone's way they look when someone's searching for them. And, a lot of times they're number one where they are, and then they move out, they get, further and further down the maps. So, what are some other tools that you recommend, or some other from a local SEO perspective, for practices or people listening to the podcast to use to kind of help them with local SEO?
Yeah, I actually let's go like a little bit deeper on local Falcon type tools because I think it's worth really driving home how important these tools are. So, local Falcon is the original. So Yin Gilbert, who's actually also a team member here at Sterling Sky, invented the local Falcon. He created it, and then there's been other companies who have sort of created their own versions. It's a world of abundance, right? This is all good stuff. But so some other ones I love. I love Local Falcon. Another one I really love is Places Scout. They do a really nice version of a GeoGrid and has all these other additional features. Why those are so important, and again, what we're talking about here is just being able to see how you rank across your whole market. And so what these tools do is they place grids across your market, and each pin in the grid represents a searcher, right? So you can then, with that proximity factor that we talked about as a ranking factor, you can see how that factor is impacting your business. So that's obviously the main reason why people use these. But we've found some really interesting additional use cases for these types of tools. And one of my favorite, and I would say the most important reason for using these tools is, let's just say you're just starting a new practice, or you're just starting to do local SEO for your practice. One of the things you want to understand right off the bat is, what can I expect? Like how far can I expect to rank from my office? Because the answer to that question has a drastic variance depending on the city you're in, the keyword that you're trying to rank for. And just to give you an example, we do some work with a dentist that's right in New York City, and on their GeoGrid, they rank maybe within like 2 or 3 blocks, maybe 4 blocks of their office. Right? It's a very tiny radius, but they're totally fine with that. Like that's cool. Like all the patients they'll ever need are within that little block. But let's just say maybe you're in a rural kind of area, and you're like, you know what, I think I should be able to rank 20 miles, 50 miles away from my office, and I want to gather patients in. What you can do with these tools is you can actually pull up the rankings for like all the competitors in that market. And so if you look at whoever like the strongest competitor is in that market right now, has the absolute like farthest best rankings, you could basically look at that and go, this is probably more or less the most you can ever expect to rank. So it's very good at setting expectations.
Oh wow, that's really cool. So you mentioned local Falcon, and I had you on my podcast too because I love that product. And you
Yeah,
mentioned a place called Places Scouts.
yeah. Places
Got it.
Scout, singular. Yeah,
Got it. Got it. Perfect. Um, so, I know we're coming to our end, and we'll go a little longer here just because this information is so valuable. Can you just talk about to the listening and viewing audience a little bit of what Scrolling Sky does? That was one of the first things I wanted to do, and we didn't go there. So
yeah.
I just want you to talk about how you guys work, what you do, how you help dental practices.
So Sterling Sky, we incorporated in 2017. Joy Hawkins is the founder and the owner of the company. She's been doing local search, I believe, since 2006. I want to say I started doing local in 2010, and Joy and I actually worked together back in 2010, and we worked together for all these years, and then we kind of went our separate ways. She started Sterling Sky in 2017. I came in pretty early on, and initially we had a pretty small team, and we were kind of like, you know what, I think we just want to have a small company, maybe 5, 6, 7 people. Uh, but fast forward to 2023, and we're now a team of 36 full-time team members, and we are like 100% focused on Google business profile optimization specifically, but like the whole local search ecosystem, generally speaking, for all of our clients. So we actually work with quite a few dentists. They're probably in the top, I would say, probably top 4 or 5 as far as the number of businesses within a vertical that we work with. But we also work with lawyers, home service companies. We work with some really big brands as well that have hundreds of locations. And our kind of the way we approach doing local SEO is we're full service. So like we're optimizing the website, we're doing the keyword research, we're figuring out the strategy, then we're implementing the strategy, we're reporting on everything we do and sort of aligning everything to business goals. And so for example, with dentists, at the end of the day, we care about new patients. So we're having monthly conversations with the clinics we work with. We're looking at their numbers, comparing it to ours, figuring out what we can do better on an ongoing basis. But yeah, we're local search nerds that just we just love this stuff so much. And I think some of the ways that our sort of passion for local search is expressed is through our local U conference that we host a few times per year. Actually, this coming October, we'll be hosting our first local university event in Toronto. So it'll be our first one in Canada, interestingly. And these are a one-day conference where all the presentations are brand new. They're tactical. They're local search focused. And the audience that shows up for these, it's marketing agencies, but it's also business owners that just want to learn more about local SEO. The other place where you'll find a lot of the Sterling Sky team and where we get to sort of again like express our love for local search is the local search forum. It's just localsearchforum.com. It's a totally free forum where anybody, business owner, marketing agency can show up. Any question about it could be a general thing that you're observing or need some help on, or you're having specific issues with a client. And you can post there and you get help from, there's really dozens of local search experts that are very active there.
That's really great information. I have one other question that came to mind, and I don't want to not forget. I don't want to forget to ask you it, so I'll ask it now. On the map pack, there's 3 usually, and you pay for a 4th, and then there's more. It says more places. Do you have any idea on the number of percentages of that get clicks on position 1, 2, and 3, and then more places and below that? Do you have any data on that?
There isn't anything super recent that's out related to that. So the best studies that are sort of around click-through rates and activity with Google business profiles versus organic listings and what gets clicked on more. Uberall has some really good studies out there that I would check out. I definitely don't have any numbers offhand.
Okay, that's fine. I was just curious. So it's not that important. I always get questions about how important it is to be 1, 2, or 3. Look, you have to be in that 3 pack. If you're not, you're definitely not getting clicks. I can assure you of that. There's very few people that click on more places.
100%. And I will say with dentists specifically that we work with, because every month we're putting some reports together for them. We're looking at how many phone calls they get, form submissions, whatever their call to action is, and we attribute them to where they came from. Every single dentist clinic we work with, the number one source is always from the Google business profile.
100%. So I don't think there's any disagreement on that. So, Colan, if anybody wants to reach out to Sterling Sky, what's the best way they can do that?
My email, more than welcome to shoot me an email. It's just my first name, Colan, with an A, COLAN @sterlingsky.ca. You can find me on Twitter at Colan Nielsen, and come check out our website, sterlingsky.ca. I highly recommend subscribing to our newsletter that we publish once a week. It's always got fresh content, updated things that we're seeing, or really good articles that we're finding other smart people do. We include them there as well.
Yeah, I check out Joyce in your feed on Twitter. I get a lot of information there as well. So, look, I know this was long. I apologize to the listeners and the viewers. This was amazing content. I didn't want to end. And Colan, we can do this again. I want to bring you back on as new information comes out. This was amazing. It's been a long time, and I appreciate you spending a few minutes with me. Guys, if you want to learn more about Sterling Sky, what they can do for you, please reach out to them. I highly recommend them. I use them for many years in my practice, especially Colan as well. And I was grateful that he was able to spend some time with me to talk to you guys about this. As you remember, I have an event coming up in September 29th and 30th, 2023. It's called Supercharge Your Dental Practice. We're going to be talking obviously about marketing, and local search is a very big thing there as well. So check it out, superchargeyourdentalpractice.com. You can use the code reputation or raving, both codes, for $100 off registration. I want to thank the sponsors, both the doc sites and Dental Intelligence, for their support. And if you like this episode, please give it to your colleagues. Please share, support us, please review us, please like us, do everything you can. And until the next episode, remember, your reputation matters. Thanks very much, Colan, and we'll talk to everyone soon.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.